After the very public disagreement with Lord Ravencrest, Kratos and his companions exited the tent, with the Pale Mage in particular throwing a bit of a wobbly.
An alliance with the other races is the key to victory. They won't accept them. My people will never fight alongside such. They accepted Coriostraus readily enough. There are few who can deny a dragon, Master Ronin. Too true. Ronin, I must go find them. Find who? The dragons, of course.
Brock snorted, and that's his entire contribution to this conversation, whilst Malfurion stood there looking aghast. The druid understood that Krasis had a link with Coriostraus, but he was still ignorant of the full truth.
The dragons, Master Krasis. But they're a force unto themselves. How can you possibly think to find them? I have my methods, but I will require swift transportation, young druid. Preferably something that can fly. What? You mean like a dragon or something? Something smaller will suffice, my friend.
There was silence for a moment, as all considered a possible solution to this conundrum, before Malfurion piped up with a potential path forward.
There are woods not far from here. Perhaps I can contact Cenarius.
The look on Krasis' face suggested he was not exactly overjoyed by that suggestion, but it was not like anyone else was offering a better strategy, so he nodded.
We shall have to depart as soon as possible then. Do you really think this necessary? I go for 2 reasons, Ronin. The first being the obvious. The dragons can turn the tide. As for the second reason, that is more personal. I sense only silence from them. That should not be so. I need to discover the truth. Well, what about Rox and I? You're a grown-ass man, Ronin. You'll figure it out. But whatever you do, stay clear of Lord Ravencrest. At least until Malfurion returns. Best not to draw any further attention or scrutiny than absolutely necessary. He'll be furious enough when he discovers I've left. Maybe. Maybe not. At least no one will be questioning his decisions out loud and in front of everyone else anymore.
Choosing to ignore Ronin's jab, Krasis then turned to Malfurion in order to get this show on the road.
Let's go then. If we take a pair of night sabers towards the area with the refugees, the soldiers should not bother us too much. We can then come around and head toward the woods.
And so, following the Elder Mage's suggestion as to their course, the two buggered off. Some soldiers did indeed eye them with a little bit of suspicion and curiosity, but since they were not heading towards the front lines, no one really cared that much to stop them or ask any questions. Malfurion was clearly uncomfortable with Krasis' mission, though the young druid respected the conjurer's wisdom enough to not ask any questions either. After all, Krasis definitely understood the dragons better than anyone Malfurion had ever met before, almost as if he'd lived with the damn things at some point in his past. What other explanation could there possibly be as to why he was so closely linked to the creatures? Anywho, about 3 hours later, the two finally arrived in the woods. However, any comfort Malfurion would normally feel entering such a natural setting certainly did not touch him this time, for this forest had experienced the taint of the Legion, their marks still very much visible.
This land has suffered much. I can almost taste the evil that's been here. Same. I'm not sure Cenarius will hear me here after all. I can only ask that you try, Malfurion. If you fail, I shall not hold it against you. I'll just have to make do with this night saber, though that will slow my journey quite a bit.
Pushing even deeper into the woods until the two discovered a slightly more tranquil clearing, Malfurion then stopped and dismounted.
Shall I leave you alone? If Cenarius chooses to come, he'll do so even if you are with me, Master Krasis.
So, whilst Krasis started to pace backwards and forwards, Malfurion took a seat on the floor, closing his eyes and reaching out with his senses, yet again. First, he spoke with the trees, the plants, a couple of pine cones, seeking any hint of the demigod's whereabouts. But that didn't work. The pine cones hadn't seen Cenarius and knew absolute diddly. And unfortunately, that really only left one other option for Malfurion. The Emerald Dream, a realm he'd been a little bit hesitant to enter, ever since being nearly lost to it forever at the end of Book 1. But good news, he did not have to enter it completely, only touch upon its edges, send his thoughts out, and then Cenarius would come to him. Nothing to worry about. Everything will be fine. As soon as he could feel himself separating from his mortal shell, Malfurion halted the transition and held himself midway between realms. It was no small feat, quite the struggle actually, but the druid wasn't planning on doing this for too long. He then pictured Cenarius in his mind as he knew him, starting to form a link with the demigod. So far so good. Everything will indeed be fine.
Malfurion!
The rapid retreat back into his own body shook the druid significantly, causing him to be momentarily stunned for the next few paragraphs, able to do nothing save open his eyes, which was especially annoying because as his eyes opened, he saw a fell beast charging directly towards him. However, Krasis, who was not momentarily stunned until a few more paragraphs after this one, muttered some words of power and exploded the monster, with the Pale Mage then grabbing Malfurion by the arms, lifting him off the ground with startling strength and yelling,
"Can you defend yourself yet?"
Before Malfurion could answer though, more demonic hounds and a bunch of Felguard burst from the woods, outnumbering the two spellcasters at least 10 to 1. Krasis again uttered a short spell, with crystal spikes thrusting up from the ground, managing to impale 3 Felguard for his efforts, whilst Malfurion looked to the trees nearest the oncoming demons and asked for their aid. And the trees happily obliged, using their branches to crack nips and slap ass. And yet, the demons still swarmed, especially the hounds, who were no doubt excited and erect at the prospect of sucking 2 spellcasters dry. Krasis, however, continued to cast with both speed and extreme ruthlessness. Immensely impressive, Malfurion thought. A far cry from the sickly figure he had been when they'd first met. But a crack like thunder then echoed through the forest, with the Pale Mage suddenly finding a whip wrapped around his throat, tightening like a noose. Malfurion span round to see the culprit, a sight nearly as frightening as Archimonde. Standing much taller than the other demons, the fiend's head was a horned skull with flames for eyes. This was no doubt the demon pack's leader. The Night Elf Druid acted quickly, grabbing some blades of grass and tossing them towards the demonic champion's sinister lash, the grass blades spinning swiftly as they flew, slicing away at the whip and cutting through it completely, with Krasis falling to his knees and gasping for breath, momentarily stunned. Which, again, sucked, because the demon leader was already drawing back his whip and preparing for another round of Kraken slaps. And it was at this moment that Malfurion started to feel a little bit disheartened. Didn't like his chances much. Krasis was incapacitated. There was no Jared Shadowsong coming to the rescue. Only Ronin and Brox even knew they were here, and they had no idea just how much danger Krasis and Malfurion were currently in. Balls. This had been a really bad idea. However, to Malfurion's surprise, the demon did not strike again. Instead, the freak just stood there and hissed.
"Surrender, creature, and you will be spared. I promise this in the name of my most honored master Sargeras. It is your only hope of survival."
Krasis coughed and managed to blurt out some words.
"Surrendering to the Burning Legion is a fate far worse than death. We must fight, Malfurion, even if we are destined to lose."
The brief encounter with Archimonde was enough to make the Night Elf Druid think the exact same thing. Who knows what demons would do with their prisoners, especially those that have been so instrumental in foiling their plans thus far.
"We will never surrender."
Fiery orbs flickering with fuckery, the demon then snapped his whip 4 times, with lightning flashing as each lash struck the earth, as well as 4 fell beasts materializing as a result.
"Then my pets will feed well upon you, spellcasters."
At their master's command, the 4 fell beasts lunged forward, but they didn't get very far, because singing warriors astride night sabers then conveniently rushed in from all sides, their song a prayer to the Night Warrior. Malfurion gaped. The Sisterhood of Elune, with Tyrande among them, had come to the rescue somehow, now absolutely kicking ass. Mounts tearing hounds to shreds, whilst their riders decapitated Felguard with quick, precise strikes. Though a few priestesses did fall. One was knocked from her mount, the fell beast biting through her neck and ripping her jugular out. Another sister tumbling to the ground after she and her night saber were skewered like a kebab. The only thing that really concerned Malfurion, though, was that Tyrande, who was locked in combat with a Felguard, had failed to notice the hissy freak with a whip now held her in his sights. The Houndmaster raised his lash and snapped, aiming for Tyrande's throat. But, thanks to a chance shift in her mount, the whip lashed the young priestess's arms instead of her neck. Still enough to pull her from her panther, though, yanking her directly towards the demon leader.
"Tyrande!"
Krasis attempted to stop Malfurion, insisting the druid was safer here, but the Night Elf just straight up ignored him, charging after his beloved, launching himself and his full weight into the Houndmaster, which didn't really achieve much at all. Bloke was a lot bigger and heavier than Malfurion, but it did cause the demon to lose concentration for a brief moment.
"Fool! I am Hakkar, and you are nothing."
Before the guy could start monologuing, Malfurion pulled a dagger from his belt and stabbed the bloke in the crease of his elbow, with Hakkar then screaming in pain and dropping his quarry. The demon then yanked the dagger from his arm, but rather than use the weapon on Malfurion, he just tossed it aside, casually picked up his stupid whip instead.
"His orders are to keep you alive, though all he seeks is enough life to torture. So I shall leave just enough."
Hakkar then struck Malfurion with his whip, again, and again, and again, pain flaring across Malfurion's entire body, a feeling akin to being burned alive. Drawing upon Cenarius' teaching, Malfurion pulled himself away from the pain, the anguish fading into nothing. He did know, deep down, that the punishment would eventually ravage his body regardless of whether he felt it or not, but his Shando's teachings at least gave him an opportunity to think. And think he did. As the fearsome giant raised his whip once again, Malfurion glanced upwards to the heavens, seeing cloud cover. Now there's an idea. Reaching out to them, Malfurion could sense their touch, learning that the clouds disliked being disturbed in the process. So, although it went against his nature, the druid fed that rage, riling them up further and playing on their vanity, informing them that this guy here thinks he commands the lightning. He thinks he's better than you clouds. He said your mums are cummulous. Sure enough, an angry bolt of lightning then shot down from the sky, striking Hakkar's whip, doing what lightning does. And with a flash and a bing-bang boof, an ashy corpse of a demon lord crumbled to the ground. The fell beasts all around howled in pain, vanishing too, and bereft of both Hakkar and his pets, the few remaining Felguard put up little resistance, falling swiftly against the priestesses and Krasis. Finally, that bit of chaos had come to an end.
That was some kind of miracle.
No miracle, Malfurion. One who I healed told me of a fell beast behind our lines. He also described what I believe was that demon commanding them. I went to warn you and the others, only to find Krasis and you had departed for here. Perhaps it was a loon speaking to me, but I felt certain that you were at risk.
So you turned to the Sisterhood. I've seen few soldiers who fight better, Duranda.
Again, Duranda smiled.
Are you all right?
I am, though I fear that Krasis and I came here for no good reason. I had hoped to contact Cenarius. Krasis needs a mount, one that can carry him to the land of the dragons.
Ronan and Brox hinted as much. Does he truly believe that he can meet with them?
Malfurion glanced toward Krasis and then back to Duranda.
You see him? You sense something within him, Duranda, just as I do. I think he can do it, if somehow he reaches their realm.
But unless a dragon itself carries him there, how's he going to make the journey?
I don't know.
Ooh!
Hippogriffs! He couldn't have chosen better, your Cenarius.
However, whilst Krasis and Malfurion looked thrilled, Duranda did not.
There are 2 of them.
Both Krasis and Malfurion studied each other, and then nodded.
I'm to go with him, it seems.
No, Malfurion. If I may, I do see the sense in the Forest Lord's decision. The druid will be better suited at guiding the hippogriffs. And don't worry, his link with Cenarius will give him good standing with the Queen of the Reds, Alexstrasza.
Duranda didn't seem any less worried, her eyes pleading with Malfurion, but he just took her softly by the hands.
He's right. I have to go with him. Forgive me, Duranda.
Malfurion then gave Duranda a big old embrace, one she returned after a brief bit of hesitation and awkwardness.
I fear you may have to help Ronan and Brox explain our absence. Will you do that for me?
Of course I will. You should know me that well.
I'm not sure what that noise means, but I think they're getting impatient.
Seizing his wrist, Duranda whispered a blessing of a loon to Malfurion.
Go safely, and return the same way, for me.
And the druid swallowed, hard. One of those real loud gulps that almost sounds like your throat just farted.
Right. Farewell. And thank you. I'll be back soon enough.
I'll hold you to that, Mal.
Smiling at her use of his childhood nickname, Malfurion then climbed atop his hippogriff, the stupid thing charging instantly into the air as Krasis yelled,
The journey will be long, but not nearly so long thanks to the demigods.
Malfurion wasn't listening to Krasis at all. He was busy, watching Duranda watch him, whilst he watched her, and she watched him. Watching her, watching him, watching her. Watching him. Oh, she's gone. Sometime later, back with the main Night Elven host, Jared Shadowsong, Ronin, Brox, and a recently returned Duranda were now standing before Lord Ravencrest, having just informed him of this latest development. And he was taking that news about as well as you would expect.
By perpetrating this outrage, those 2 threaten the stability of our forces. If word should leak that 2 of our spellcasters have abandoned us at this integral moment, they didn't abandon us. They went for help. From the dragons. They might as well walk into the mouth of the first one they see. The wizard's pet was good enough assistance under his guidance, but wild dragons? Dragons are the oldest, most intelligent race of our world. They know more than we will ever learn, and they'll likely eat most of us before we ever get a chance to.
Ravencrest then glanced towards Duranda.
What part does the Sister of a Loon have in all of this?
We've met before, my lord.
Oh, yes. We have. Your female friend, Illidan.
Illidan nodded, his expression revealing nothing.
I had hoped that one of you would have some influence over Malfurion at least. I know, of course, that no one can command Master Krasis.
Malfurion meant to return, Lord, but his patron gave him indication that he should travel with the wizard.
Patron? You are referring to that nonsense about the demigod scenarios?
Illidan can attest to the Forest Lord's existence, Lord.
Illidan's stoic mask crumbling somewhat, he then timidly muttered,
"'Tis true. Cenarius is real. I've seen him. Dragons and demigods. All of this might and magic abounding around us, and yet we're losing strength, not gaining it. I suppose this Cenarius has his reasons for not joining us.
He and his kind battle the demons in their own manner.
Aye. And speaking of the demons, I don't suppose those two fools considered that they are constantly at risk from assassins. What if they were attacked?
Silence and shifting gazes followed that question.
They were attacked, weren't they?
Yes, my lord. But I and the sisters arrived in time. We defeated the demons, and both Krasis and Malfurion left uninjured.
Jared Shadowsong grimaced at that revelation, whilst Illidan shook his head in exasperation, and Ravencrest grabbed an open flask of wine and chugged a good portion of it.
Tell me what happened.
And so, Tyrande did. She started to tell of all of the things. Upon reaching the part of the story involving Hakkar the Houndmaster, however, Lord Ravencrest's eyes actually lit up a little bit, and he interrupted the story.
A demon commander?
It seemed so. He was powerful, but Malfurion summoned the lightning from the heavens and slew him.
Well struck, but also precisely the reason why I wish the druid had returned to us. We need that power. The Moonguard and I will make up for his unpermitted absence, Lord. It will have to, sorcerer. It will have to.
Ravencrest then glanced towards Ronin.
What about you, wizard? You're not going to follow the path of your compatriots, are you? I want to see the Burning Legion defeated. Right. Not at all a satisfactory answer to my question, but an answer I expected from your ilk all the same. Captain Shadowsong.
Yes, my lord.
I at first considered having you punished severely for failing to keep this band under control. Yet the more I learn of them, the more I realize how nigh impossible that task actually is. That you've kept them alive and intact this long speaks to your merits. Continue your task, Captain. So long as you have anyone to watch, that is.
The compliment was not what Shadowsong had been expecting, so it took him a few moments to register what the bloody hell had just been said.
Yes, Lord. My thanks. No, my sympathies. You are dismissed. All of you. You too, Illidan.
Mother Moon, spare me from all spellcasters.
Illidan took that expulsion as if his patron had just straight up slapped him in the face, giving the Lord a stiff bow before exiting the tent with everyone else. And once outside, he hurriedly caught up with Tyrande, grabbing her shoulder quite firmly.
Illidan,
what? I can't stay quiet any longer, Tyrande. Malfurion's grown reckless, naive. He is undeserving of you.
Look, it's been a long and difficult...
Hear me out. I accepted his desire to learn this druidism because I understood his hopes are different. I, of all people, understand my brother's ambitions.
Malfurion is not...
Again, Illidan refused to allow Tyrande to finish even one sentence.
This path he follows is erratic, dangerous. It is no saving grace. He should have followed my path. The well is the answer. See what I've accomplished in such a short time. The Moonguard are mine to command, and through them I've sent many a demon to death. Malfurion's path leads only to his own destruction, Tyrande, and possibly yours as well.
And what do you mean by that?
I know you care for both of us, Tyrande, and we in turn feel much for you. One of us will be your intended, we all know it. But whereas once I was willing to stand aside and let you choose without influence, I will do so no longer. I must protect you from Malfurion's insanity. The Well of Eternity is the only true source of power that can save us. Even the Sisters of Elune cannot cast the spells that I do. Be mine, and I can protect you properly. Better yet, I can teach you. Make you understand the might the Well can offer you. Together we could be a force more formidable than the Moonguard combined. For we'd be one in spirit and body. Illidan, recall yourself.
Illidan stopped his ridiculously lengthy bit of dialogue, gawping like he'd just been stabbed in the heart.
You shame yourself with your words concerning your brother. and make assumptions with no basis in fact. Malfurion has done everything he can to save our lives. The path he's chosen is a valued one. He may be the true survival of our kind, Illidan. And as for the well, it's tainted. The demons draw from it just as you do. What does that say?
Oh, don't be so ridiculous comparing me to a demon or something.
Malfurion would...
Malfurion? Oh, what a bungler. What a buffoon I've been. I see it now. You've already chosen Tyrande.
I've done nothing of the sort.
May the two of you be happy together, if we survive.
Illidan then span round and stomped away toward his moonguard, leaving Tyrande alone, a single tear now sliding down her face cheek.
Shaman.
Tyrande jumped and turned.
Roxigar.
He hurt you, Shaman?
No. Just a misunderstanding.
No one misunderstands much and underestimates more.
I'm all right. Did you wish something?
No.
You came back because I was with Illidan, didn't you?
This unworthy one owes you much, Shaman. And owes that one something more.
I don't understand.
Brox then flexed his fingers, the same fingers that had been burned horrifically by a certain knob of a night elf whose name rhymes with Schmillidan Schmormrage.
It's nothing, Shaman. It's nothing.
Well, thank you for coming to my aid, Roxigar. I'll be all right. And so will Malfurion. I know it.
This humble one hopes so,
grunted the orc, whilst continuing to stare daggers towards Illidan.